What is up, guys? Happy Friday. Welcome to my first Saviors of Uldum review video. Like always, we're going to grade these cards on both power and design on a scale 0 to 5 stars. The big themes with the set, well, we are getting quests back for each class, and the 4 Explorer heroes are also returning. Notably not neutral, but they are all Reno cards, as in they reward you for being a singleton deck. No duplicates allowed. So let's take a look first at the Paladin. Sir Finley of the Sands, 2 mana, 2/3 Murloc. Battlecry. If your deck contains no duplicates, discover an upgraded hero power. So think Justicar, True Heart, right? Actually, a way to get the Baku hero power now back in standard, technically. You can discover it. You get 2 mana, 2 dudes. That's definitely what you're going to be trying to do, probably on turn 2 if you're aggressive. Big high rolly card here because if you get this on turn 2, it's going to set yourself up really well. What does save this card, if you're getting this in the late game, you can try to get the Warlock hero power, try to refill your hand a little bit. So it's strange because you really do want this on turn 2. Later in the game, there's no big, Reno payoff, right? One of the big payoffs being a Reno deck was going to full health. Here, you're getting kind of a minor bonus late in the game. But early in the game, this does definitely have a Prince Kelseth effect where it can definitely snowball a game, as anyone who's played Baku Paladin can attest to, right? So pretty strong card overall. Is it worth it to be a Reno deck just to every once in a while get this on turn 2 and snowball a game? It might be. The late game value of the Warlock hero power does save this a little bit. Again, when you get it late, at least you can try to get that draw card ability. Elise the Enlightened is again a 5 mana 5/5 like her previous incarnation with the Battlecry. If your deck has no duplicates, duplicate your hand. Very interesting design here. At first glance, she looks like she's at odds with herself. I think upon deeper inspection, she is a very powerful card, and we'll get to that in a little bit. So how is she sort of at odds with herself? Well, if you're duplicating your hand and your deck has no duplicates, why didn't you just, play a normal deck with duplicates of cards in it? Well, I think the answer to that is you're just more likely to get heavy cards, as in cards that cost more mana, cards that you would only want to put one copy in, like maybe something like the Forest's Aid, or maybe something, big like Ysera at any point. Well, if you have 2 Yseras, you're going to definitely be grinding out a game going late. The other big advantage of this is, well, you get duplicate legendaries, cards that you can only put one copy in. And this is a powerful thing to do, especially in Wild, where, well, you get 2 Branns, you get 2 Lothebs maybe, get 2 Reno Jacksons, obviously, because you are, of course, a Reno deck. In Standard, there are some nice ones to get. You get 2 maybe Geppetto Joy Buzzes. If you get 2 Barista Lynchons, that can go off especially well with Elise herself. You could get 2 Vargoth. I think that's a big deal in Druid. Druid can definitely make use of Vargoth quite well with the multiple buff cards like Power of the Wild and the Twin Cast spell as well, right? So getting a second Vargoth, really nice. Again, because you get more late game cards that you would only want one copy of in your deck anyways. Elysiana recently got nerfed to 9 mana. You can no longer use Brewmaster or Banker on her, but if you play Elise first, you can get extra copies of Elysiana. So you can definitely grind out a game now with our Reno Druid deck in Standard. I think this card is sneaky powerful once you start thinking about what you can get 2 of. As long as you're not dead, you're going to be able to go really late with cards like Barista Lynchon, again, Elysiana, etc. Go deep with Druid. Sneaky good card. Reno the Relicologist is again a 6 mana 4/6, just like his previous incarnation with the Battlecry. If your deck has no duplicates, deal 10 damage randomly split among enemy minions. Notably, minions not base here. I think that is very good on turn 6, especially. Most likely going to completely clear your opponent's board while leaving you much ahead because, well, you have a 4/6 and anything you started with the turn with. So definitely a very strong play if you're a Reno deck. Is it worth it just for this? Unlike the previous incarnation of Reno, the effect is powerful, but it's not as game-changing, right, as going to full health, right? It is a strong effect, but again, not as game-changing as the old Reno. Plus, the old Reno was able to run Kazakas as well, which is a whole different thing, right? So is this good enough for Standard? The problem, I think, is that in Standard Mage right now, the best 3 cards do kind of want you to have duplicates of them, namely Mountain Giant, Conjurer's Calling, and mana Cyclone. Only getting access to one of each kind of neuters them to some extent. It is helpful that, well, Conjurer's Calling, the best mage card right now, has Twin Cast on it. So if you draw your one Conjurer's Calling, you have 2 copies of Conjurer's Calling, which is always nice. So hard to tell if it's going to be worth doing a mage. We'll definitely try it out because this will clear the board on turn 6. Dino Tamer Brann, 7 mana, 2/4. Battlecry, if your deck has no duplicates, summon King Crush, which is, of course, a 8/8 with charge. Not rush, but charge. This can go face. So much like we've gotten a turn early Ragnaros here in Standard, now we have a turn early King Crush, and all you have to do is not play duplicates. So unlike the early Rag, you had to go through a little bit of hoops to unlock that card. This card just asks you to be a Reno deck. I think where this fits in is a deck playing a bunch of secrets and Zul'jin. You can play a bunch of secrets, play Subject 9 to, you know, draw said secrets. I guess you have to play every single one of them because you can only have 1 copy of each. So that's a little bit of a minor downside. If you draw all your secrets, your Subject 9 doesn't do anything, but I think that's where this would fit. Zul'jin definitely helps out. A card like Unleash the Beasts, again, with Twin Cast, means, well, you get kind of a duplicate card in one. And if this gets there, I do think it will be in a secret shell with Zul'jin. Questing Explorer, definitely one of the most important cards, if not the most important card in the set, possibly, because it takes one of the huge downsides of quests and possibly turns it into an advantage, especially if you have 2 of them of these in the early game, especially in Druid, and we'll see why in a sec. But yeah, when you have one less card in your mulligan, you have less options, things to do, whereas this gets your card back immediately on turn 2. So if you have this, great. If you get it after your quest is done, well, hopefully the fact that this is just a 2 mana 2/2 is made up for by the fact that your quest was very powerful. In general, all the quests do get a huge bump from the existence of this card, especially since you can run 2. I guess if you're playing the quest and you're trying to be a Reno deck, then, well, a little bit awkward because you do want 2 of these cards. Untapped Potential is the first quest we're going to look at. It's the Druid quest. It says, end 4 turns with unspent mana, and then your reward is Osirian Tear, and let's take a look at that. It is a passive hero power. It says your choose 1 cards have both effects combined. So you do lose your original Druid hero power. That's a bit annoying, but hopefully with big choose cards yet to be revealed, this will be worth it. Currently, as the recording of this video, nothing has ever been revealed as far as a new choose card. So we can think of cards like Nourish and Tending Tarn as kind of the big payoffs if you were to sort of unlock this on curve. I think the gameplay with this will be not to try to do it as soon as possible. It's just something that's eventually going to happen as the game moves forward. You're not going to, I don't think you purposely try to get this going quickly unless there's a big payoff. I don't think Nourish or Tending Tarn is a big enough reason to do this on curve, but who knows? Maybe you're in a game where you can afford to do that. You can actually coin a turn 1 to, you know, get a head start on this, and maybe it's worth to do that. We shall see. I imagine there's going to be some very high-costed, very powerful choose cards, which could turn the game in your favor, or possibly just win the game outright if you have both effects on the 10 mana spell or something. So again, hard to judge right now. At first glance, this looks pretty meh, but I imagine there's going to be some big reasons for you to want to get both effects. Bees, 3 mana, choose a minion, summon 4 1/1 bees that attack it. This card is absurd. Definitely a 5-star card. Definitely should go into every Druid deck as 2 copies. There's like no way that doesn't happen. This is a Shadow Bolt on steroids. This is the type of card that you would usually cost 4 mana, in the same vein as something like Flanking Strike, or even, I guess, Implosion was the first one. And Warrior gets this card quite a bit. In fact, they have a new one. And much like the 4 mana 5/5 rush, right? Kill a minion, leave something on the board. This again will do the same thing a turn early. And that's not even talking about all the little synergy this card has, like Knife Juggler, turn 2 Knife Juggler into turn 3 this. That's kind of crazy. And then later on, even something like Cult Master might be a thing that happens. In Wild, these are the bees are beasts, so it combos with Knight of the Wild. You play this, you get 4 beasts. All of a sudden, your Knight of the Wild is kind of like a thing from below. All of a sudden, it's coming down as a 6/6 real early. In general, this card is really pushed. It probably should cost more mana. It might get nerfed. Definitely on the radar for a nerf card because it's it's just too efficient for what it does, especially in Druid, which can absolutely make use of extra 1/1s. Raid the Sky Temple is the mage quest. It says cast 10 spells and your reward is Ascendant Scroll. Let's take a look at the scroll. It is a hero power, 2 mana. Add a random mage spell to your hand. It costs 2 less. So almost Primordial Glyph, but minus the Discover. And that's the important part here. Losing Discover is a big deal. So not as good as Primordial Glyph every turn, but it is a pretty good value card if you're going really late. Not sure this is what you need. What's interesting, though, is that because of anyone who's played Wild knows that the play pattern with the quest would be that they hold on to the quest, play Source Apprentice, and then just use it as a 0 mana spell to power up Mana Cyclone. That's probably what happens here as well, because you can play your Source Apprentice, play this for 0 first, play whatever spells you have, and then play a Mana Cyclone, and you replace the quest. The only issue here is you don't get the value from the neutral 2/3, right? If you play the quest turn 1, then you can't use it for Mana Cyclone. If you want to draw your card, you have to play your quest turn 1. But I guess you could save your 2-drop for a later turn to draw your card. So, but if you want to do it on turn 2, you gotta play the quest first. I think what will happen, though, is that this gets played and recycled with Mana Cyclone. Puzzle Box of Yogg-Saron, 10 mana, cast 10 random spells, targets chosen randomly. So we get Yogg all in one here. Don't even need to play any spells in your deck outside of the Puzzle Box. So this is a way for Book of Specters decks to have some Yogg fun. We'll definitely try that. Does this card get there on its own? Possibly. Maybe as a 1-of. Maybe it's just strong enough to be a 2-of. They definitely tested this. If it was 5 random spells, it probably wouldn't do enough. If it was 15 random spells, it would probably be too good. I think 10 might be the magic number they landed on, to where most likely something favorable will happen, but it's not guaranteed, right? I think in general, you're going to want to play this in most situations. Brazen Zealot, 1 mana, 2/1. Whenever you summon a minion, gain +1 attack. So one of the problems that 1 mana, 2/1s generally have is they get nullified really quickly by 2 mana, 2/3. Because of the fact that your Paladin, you're always going to have a, well, hero power to make this a 3/1, and then you can trade with something like Questing Explorer, which might be very common in Standard. The 3 cards we're going to look at Paladin today all share a theme. They are all 1 health minions, and they even sort of search out 1 health minion, so we can assume almost 100% guarantee the Paladin quest is going to involve you playing X number of 1 health minions, and this might fit along in that deck. Definitely need to mention this card in Wild because of how well it synergizes in a Baku deck. Turn 1 Brazen Zealot, turn 2 hero power, gives you a 4/1 attacking on turn 2, which is very aggressive. At 2 mana, we have Sandwasp Queen, which starts as a 3/1 with the battle cry added to 2/1 Sandwasps to your hand. So a lot of value for just 1 card here, much like the dragon from the previous set. This just gets there on value alone. It's a little bit awkward that your 2-drop has 1 health, but if they ping it, well, they got 2 more things to ping the next turn maybe. So your opponent can only ping so much unless they're rogue. Obviously, if they're a mage, they can't waste their time pinging the whole game. Eventually, you will get ahead of them. Yeah, pretty strong card here. Definitely going to synergize with the quest. And this card might be strong enough to see play in a non-quest deck just because of things like, Magic Carpet, right? Moving on to Selit's Pride, where the 1 health is starting to be a much bigger drawback. 3 mana, 3/1 beast. Death Threat, I'll draw 2 1 health minions from your deck. So we can definitely see where they're going here. If you get this to draw 2 Sandwasp Queens, and all of a sudden, I guess your quest is done immediately. This is where the tempo loss of having a 3/1 is a big deal. Does this get there in the quest deck? We shall see. I do like the 2-drop the most. I like the 1-drop more than this one. I think this one is a little bit weaker than the other 2. Plague of Death here. We have a fixed Psychic Scream, possibly 9 mana, silence and destroy all minions. So Psychic Scream at 7 mana, probably a little bit too cheap. Probably should have costed 8. And here for 1 more mana over Twisting Nether, we get to silence the minions before destroying them all. And that's probably worth 1 mana, assuming you can get to turn 9. And because of the power of Mass Hysteria, Priests don't have that much trouble getting to a late game situation, again, because of the power of a Mass Hysteria. So this card definitely will see play. Maybe it's a 1-of, maybe it's a 2-of. In Wild, I don't think it has much of an impact because, well, in Wild you get both Plague and Mass Hysteria. I don't think you need this as well. But in standard, yeah, this will definitely see a little bit of play. Psycho Pomp, 4 mana 3/1 with the battle cry. Summon a random friendly minion that died this game. Give it Reborn. Wow, so a lot of things going on here. Well, let's talk about Reborn. Reborn basically is like Death Rattle, where when the minion dies, it comes back, except with 1 health. But you're getting basically the full minion the first time. It just has Reborn on it. It doesn't come back with 1 health. No, it's your full Witchwood Grizzly with Reborn. So when it dies, it comes back as a 3/1. So that's a ton of value for just 4 mana. You're not likely to play this on curve, but even with something like Snip Snap, imagine you played Snip Snap turn 3. You kill your Snip Snap on turn 4, and then you play Psycho Pomp to guarantee you get back a Snip Snap that has Reborn another Snip Snap. So there's so many 1/1s coming out that it's like boggles the mind, right? Because your original Snip Snap died, you got 2 1/1s. You resurrected a new Snip Snap. When that one dies, you get 2 more 1/1s. And then when the Reborn Snip Snap dies, you get 2 more 1/1s. Obviously, you run the risk of resurrecting a 1/1. So that's not great. So you have to be a little bit careful. Make sure you kill your Snip Snap the turn before you play this. But that's something that might happen. And this obviously synergizes with anything with Rush very well. Anything with Divine Shield very well. Because Reborn wants you to either Rush again right away, or have Divine Shield on it to protect the 1 health. There's a card that has both Rush and Divine Shield. In fact, Zeliax. That's going to work very well with this. If your Zeliax died, you play this, you get back Zeliax. They finally kill your Zeliax again. Then you get back a 3/1 Divine Shield Taunt Rush. So, very annoying card with specifically Zeliax, possibly Snip Snap. Anytime you resurrect Witchwood Grizzly, that's insane. Definitely a card that's going to see play. Plague of Madness. Each player equips a 2/2 knife with Poisonous. So spending a card to give your opponent the same thing that you got is generally something you don't want to be doing. However, if we look at the art of the card, we kind of get a sense of why this might be good. Because if you're just wasting time playing a bunch of lackeys, your opponent having a 2/2 Poisonous Knife isn't a huge deal for you. Obviously, the big combo here is combining this with Acidic Swamp Ooze and Harrison Jones. Imagine on turn 6, you play this, kill their biggest thing, play Harrison Jones, get a 5/4, draw 2 cards. So Vile Spine Slayer, eat your heart out. So yeah, definitely a combo with weapon removal. But again, because Rogue messes around on the board with lackeys so much right now, giving your opponent a 2/2 Poisonous Knife might not be the worst thing in the world. But in general, you're going to want to combo this with Ooze and Harrison Jones. Corrupt the Waters is the Shaman quest. Play 6 Battlecry cards and your reward is Heart of Virnal. Let's take a look at it. Notably, this is not a passive hero power. You must spend 2 mana and then your battle cries trigger twice this turn. That might make it a very hard card to evaluate correctly here. Not sure how to look at this because having to spend 2 mana might mean you're unable to play, well, 2 battle cries on the same turn. You're going to use this more like a value card. If you have something like Fire Elemental, you spend 2 first, then you play your Fire Elemental to get extra value. Not really how you want to be doing this. You probably want to find a way to play multiple battle cries on the same turn. Lackeys do a good job being so cheap because you spend 2 once and then play a bunch of lackeys. This can work on turn 10 with Mosquito, right? For a huge life swing, gain 12, deal 12. You will not be able to double your Shutterwalk unless you have the coin, which is something you get in half your game, so it is something that will happen. Pretty hard card to evaluate overall. 6 is a lot, and spending 2 mana is not nothing. So, a card that looks broken on the surface, again, because 6 is a lot, because spending 2 is a real cost. It is a big question mark, I believe. Plague of Murlocs, 3 mana shaman spell. It says transform all minions into random Murlocs. Notably, this affects both sides of the board. So on your side, you might want to be playing a Murloc deck anyway. This is a good way to make use of the 1/1 Murlocs you get from the Death Rattle card. If you trade your minions, get 1/1s and turn them into, well, better Murlocs maybe. This has opportunities to do some base damage because of Bluegill Warrior exactly. You could do this, change all your minions, maybe get 2 warriors. All the better if you got a war leader for extra damage. I can definitely see a lot of games ending by someone playing Plague of Murlocs twice, trying to get lucky warrior lethals. As a devolve, this is interesting. It plays around one of the downsides of devolve a little bit. A lot of times you would devolve maybe a 9-drop and they would get a better 8-drop. whereas this, they're capped at what? Scargill at 4/4. So yeah, in the late game, this is a better devolve. In the early game, it's a worse devolve because it affects your board too, and it's worse to sort of. Devolve was good because it could turn 2-drops into like 1/1s, whereas this might give them 4/4s technically. So it's a worse devolve early, a better devolve possibly later, and all the better if you're playing Murloc synergy stuff as well. Earthquake. Deal 5 damage to all minions, then deal 2 damage to all minions. So that's a pretty cool flavor aftershock there. Cool design for sure. And because like Priest, Shaman doesn't have a big AoE removal in their classic set, they keep getting these printed every set as well. And we had to deal with them as they stack up in standard. So Shaman have access to both Hagatha Scheme and now Earthquake and actual Hagatha for all the AoEs. And this is cool because it gets rid of reborn cards, I guess. It also deals with pesky death rattles like, well, Snip Snap, I guess. And does this get played over Hagatha Scheme, or does it just get played alongside Hagatha Scheme? Hagatha Scheme has the advantage of being able to generate tempo the turn you play it, right? Imagine it's turn 7. You Hagatha Scheme board, and you get to play the new Lackey Totem. And if your opponent can't deal with it, you're running away with Lackeys. Whereas this on turn 7, well, it's all you can do. So yeah, they do 2 different things. It's a meta dependent on which one's better probably. This one seems like it's safer, right? It just always does 7 damage. It deals with death rattles, whereas Hagatha Scheme off the top deals 1, right? Has the advantage of being cheaper, but I think in general you might be looking at Earthquake for your control decks. Evil Totem, 2 mana, 0/2 totem for Shaman. At the end of your turn, add a Lackey to your hand. So this can get out of control pretty quickly, and even if you just play this and it dies, you get a Lackey, you kind of gain pseudo health, almost worth doing. I think you would probably just Hero Power turn 2 instead of doing this into certain death, but there might be a situation because of a card coming up that you just need a Lackey. So yeah, definitely a card that can snowball the game. I think this is just will see play because it has the chance to completely run away with a game. Weaponized Wasp is a 3 mana 3/3 beast. If you control a Lackey, deal 3 damage. So not really a 3-drop, generally going to be a 4-drop, but because Lackeys are so strong, you're just going to want to play Lackeys, and a card like this gives you even more reasons to play Lackeys. I do think this is going to make the totem much better, give you more reason to just plop that down even if it's going to die. You can get the tempo back by playing like a 2 damage Lackey into a 3 damage Wasp on turn 4. And if your totem gets out of control, even better, right? So big upside on the totem, and this is another payoff for that totem. Supreme Archaeology is the Warlock quest. It says draw 20 cards and you get a Tomb of Origination, which, well, gives you more cards. Hero Power, draw a card. It costs 0, so no longer lose 2 health. And your card's going to be 0. The only way this is going to work is with Plot Twist, obviously. And you probably need to cast 2 Plot Twists in the same game to get this done. What helps this card out is definitely the new neutral 2-drop. So you can recoup your card. And just being Warlock means that it's not that hard to just throw this into a Plot Twist deck. I think if you're playing Plot Twist, you just run this card because the opportunity cost isn't that high. You get to run the new neutral draw card. You get to life tap turn 2 anyway to replace it. I do think if you're doing Plot Twist, this just finds a way into your deck. What this quest does allow you to do in a Plot Twist deck is generally go for a more super late game win condition, maybe even fatigue, right? Because you're going to be able to put more cards in your deck with Elec. You're going to be able to tap into 0 mana Archivist Elysiana possibly because Plot Twist puts her back. Yeah, you can just go real deep with this card to be sure. Embalming, 4 mana Warlock spell. Destroy a minion. Shuffle 3 worthless imps into your deck. All right, we haven't seen a card like this since Crystal Power. Crystal Power had a pretty big downside losing a mana crystal, but on turns 9 or 10 it didn't really matter anymore. Here, putting 3 worthless imps in your deck is pretty terrible at all times. But because you're Warlock, even if you draw an imp, you could technically just tap into another card. And because the Magic Carpet is a very real Warlock card, having a 1/1, maybe you have 2 Knife Jugglers on the board, maybe you have a Magic Carpet, you're 1/1 for 1, all of a sudden doesn't look that bad anymore as it pings twice and is a rushing 2/1, right? So Because you're Warlock, because Magic Carpet's a thing, because you can tap to sort of make the worthless draw less worthless in general, this the card that might get there. I think a card that initially looks really good, the more you think about it, the worthless imps are a real downside, but then the more you think about it even more, maybe it's not that bad because you are Warlock. Armageddillo is a 6-mana 4/7 beast, and it's a legendary with taunt. At the end of your turn, give all taunt minions in your hand +2/+2. So I like the design of this card, except that it's a legendary. This should have been an epic, I think, because then you could play 2. They combo with each other. At legendary, it's kind of a bummer. What are you doing with this in standard? Well, Zeliax is a taunt. That's a nice one to buff. This curves into the 7-mana rush beast. It would be a 7/9 rush. That would be able to kill Doomsayer technically. That's an interaction that can definitely happen. I think the big problem this card has is that it sort of fights with some of the themes Control Warrior already has, which is basically play a bunch of mechs, right? And bomb synergy cards even. So this not being a mech means it doesn't synergize with Dr. Boom. Whereas something like Safeguard works a little bit more if you want to taunt at 6. Jar Dealer, 1 mana 1/1 with the Death Rattle, add a random 1-cost minion to your hand. So this is no Firefly, kind of a fixed Firefly here. We lose the health of the Firefly. We also need this to die before we can immediately play the other 1-drop. Now, there are a lot of synergies in standard with this, namely Magic Carpet, right? If you have Magic Carpet out, this charges in a 2/1. You get another 1-drop to again charge into play, possibly surviving. This might combo well with the new Paladin quest we have yet to see, but this is going to give you a 1-health minion and possibly give you another random 1-health minion. Druid quest can look at this as well, along with Acorn Bear. Let's say you play the quest turn 1, turn 2, you're going to need a 1-drop. Well, you can play the Jar Dealer or an Acorn Bear, and then you activate your quest because you didn't spend all your mana. The next turn, you kill your Jar Dealer, and you're able to, well, play another 1-drop, or maybe with Acorn Bear, play couple 1/1s. Again, Acorn Bear works with Magic Carpet. Jar Dealer works with Magic Carpet. So in Druid, I think this is looking to be played in Druid, Warlock, and maybe even Paladin. So that concludes my first Saviors of Uldum set review. I'm going to try to do these every Friday as the new cards come out. We don't have all the information here, obviously, so many of these ratings today are very much speculative. I did my best. If you guys agree or disagree with anything I said today, please comment below. And I'll see you guys next time.